Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? Welcome to the Entrepreneur Power Hour. I'm your host, Kareem Mays, with my brother, Chris Peters, and today we are talking about the power of creating great content and then sending it out to the world, really getting people interested in what you have and then selling it, making you a successful entrepreneur. And we have Bill Maybauer, Jerry, we have Francis Richardson, and Ron. So guys, it's an open discussion. Feel free to have free-flowing thoughts. Whatever comes to you, speak it. So let's get excited.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll start us off tonight. This is an example of content marketing, what we're doing with the show. And I think that for people to latch on to what you're doing, I think you have to provide value and you have to show people you care and have good content. Doing that and going through the right channels of connecting with people on a personal level, I think, is probably the most important thing that's going to draw them to your content. And also doing something fresh and new and not being like every other entrepreneur out there. That's why we created this show, because it's a unique social platform for people to come on and get their ideas heard and brainstorm. So I think that's definitely a good way to go for sure.
Yeah, definitely. One problem I find is a lot of people talk about leads. I got to get leads. I have to get 100,000 leads, which getting leads is fine. But when you have a bunch of people, Bob, Mary, Joe, on a spreadsheet, those aren't people you know. Those aren't people necessarily you have any connection with, and they don't care about you. You don't care about them. Getting leads is fine. But really, the utmost important thing is not getting a ton of leads, but making a few relationships that really matter, like we're doing here. You start up something and you say, hey, to a few people, I need your help. I'd like your help. Nothing wrong with asking. And then suddenly people start to see, oh, he's doing this. It's interesting. And you create that relationship of know, like, and trust. They come and have an awesome time. And they'll be back. It's not like I have to call them up and keep following, hey, get on the show, and then poke people.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Somebody else want to chime in? Go for it. Anybody?
Yep. Floor is yours, guys.
I'll jump in.
Sure, Jerry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, I started Wiseware in 2013 in my San Antonio garage, and
Nice.
The reason for it is my grandfather, Dominic Camerata, he pretty much raised me in Cleveland, Ohio, and he suffered from a condition called Lewy body dementia, and which is a cross between Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Oh.
So in October 2010, he fell in his house. He was getting a glass of ice water in the middle of the night. He broke his hip, and my grandmother, Josephine, was upstairs. And she didn't hear him for an hour. He laid there, in pain for an hour. And eventually she got down there and we got help to the house. But he got surgery and we thought he was doing okay. But then he ended up passing away that day after Christmas that year. So that was the motivation, the why behind why Wiseware was created. And so, before it was called Wiseware, it was me and a few of my other buddies. We started making a hearing aid for seniors that had biosensing capabilities. So it could pick up when a senior was dehydrated, like my grandfather was, when their balance was off, when their gait was off, and when they were at risk for about to fall, to acutely about to fall, and then told them in real time, you're at risk for falling, sit down. So essentially an OnStar for seniors in their ear. And that was our first product, and that's going through some FDA approval now. But the reason I bring that story up is that's the why behind Wiseware. And for me, the key, I think, to any business is I always draw three kind of Venn diagrams, in a Venn diagram of three circles. And any business that you start, I think if you get in the center of those three circles, I call that your sweet spot. And your sweet spot is, what are you good at? Is the bottom quad, is the bottom circle, and what skills do you have that are unique? What are your strengths? What are you really, really good at? And then the next circle is, what are you passionate about? If you had 50 million in the bank, what would you still work on? Just because you're just driven by it. And I like to describe it as, if money's off the table, what would you passionately do regardless of, the money? And then the top part of the circle is, how can you bring the most impact to the world? And I think if you can, get in this sweet spot there, I think that's the beginning. And for me, that was the beginning because, entrepreneurial life, it's a roller coaster. I feel like it's the most insane thing. I mean, it's just a, euphoria and terror. I think it was described in, which book is it? Hard Thing About Hard Things.
Sure.
And, and he describes, that the roller coaster of euphoria and terror. And that's kind of what happens is, and if you're not passionate and you don't have that kind of drive to bring it to the end zone, during the tough spots, you want to abandon it. You're just, I'm just going to walk. But if you're truly in your sweet spot, there's tough days there's good days, and you just keep rolling because you're on a mission. And I think that the why behind the content is the beginning.
Yes.
But I wanted to put that out there because I mentor a lot of young startup tech guys and Techstars and some of the other programs. And I think it's really, really important to have obviously it'd be great to, get $1 billion and get a big buyout. That's fantastic. But the reality is that's probably unlikely. And the truth is you got to be doing something that you truly love, and you don't have to work a day in your life then.
Absolutely, my friend. And like I said, that's why we're doing the Entrepreneur Power Hour, because we want to help as many people as they can get their voice heard and get their ideas brainstormed. Because we know how difficult it is to start up, because we're just starting off. But we've got a creative vision together. Me and Kareem know that we can do this. We know we can be a success doing this. And we're actually best friends. We met through a program called Mentoring for Free, and I was his mentor. And I was very different from other people he met because I didn't start talking about a business or anything. We just sat down and started talking about music and life. And then that's how we met. So, and I've never met a more determined business partner than him. And I love him with all my heart, and he's my best friend. And, he's helping me facilitate this dream. Yep. And I think that's very important. That's why we have this mastermind, because we all want to help facilitate everyone's dream, including yours, Jerry. So you're welcome to come back anytime. For sure, buddy. For sure.
That's really interesting. That's the second time I've heard that. That basically that same description you gave there, Jerry. Up here, I'm actually here in Cleveland right now.
Nice.
And they have a place over in Shaker Heights called the Launch House, and it's a bunch of financial people and business, small business owners or entrepreneurs, and get together, and they basically it's a conglomerate. We can get together for new startups to get going. But actually, I'd heard somebody out there has made pretty much the same allusion to that. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Interesting.
But it's so true. I mean, even taking that a step further, when you're talking content in terms of the business startups, content is the same thing as just look at it as a story. You gotta have the soul to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a purpose, who wants to turn to page 2? Who wants to turn to page 3? It's got to be moving. It's got to be free. It's got to be flowing, constantly going in a direction. You can't go backwards in a story.
Yep.
Well, if it's a passion, it's not work. It's something that, excuse me, I had a frog in my throat.
It's okay, Francis.
It's like Jerry said, what is going to drive you when you get to that top circle? If it's a passion, then you're not going to have that big a problem to provide the content. And you're just looking for like-minded individuals that like what you're putting on the table, and they want to be a part of that. They want to join you. They don't join people don't join businesses, they join people.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And that's something else to remember too, is as an entrepreneur, we're doing it for a reason. Part of the reason is our own passion, but There's another directive for that passion is our customers, our clients. What is their interest going to be? You know, and we got to think about that as well. You know, if it's personal to us, it's going to be personal to them. They can, if that relatability is vital.
And you make a good point, Ron, because I think the camaraderie and the creative vision that we all share is why people keep coming back. They know that we are giving our all with this, and they know that we care about helping them. So I think having that goal where we're uniting everybody is why this is catching on so well and why so many people are interested in being here. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, actually, I saw a company, and this is actually kind of goes along with your story there, Jerry, about your grandfather. Well, here we had a restaurant owner over here in Olmsted Falls. He passed away about a year ago, and the food was phenomenal. You know, at that restaurant, everybody went there, and it's a nice family restaurant. Well, when he passed, the heart of the place passed, and the food is not the same, and you're starting to see it really faltering. And so I think that really goes for any industry out there. You're talking as an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. That's just the same thing.
Yeah.
I really love what you said there, Ron, because that passion is really what, in my opinion, makes a great content story, and the story behind it. Like, just saying I want to make $1 million would never motivate me to, even if it was the best product in the world, to go buy it. But if, I have a vision. I want to put a personal computer in everyone's house. I want to bring entrepreneurs together. I want to help seniors who are in a difficult position. I want to create world peace. I want to end world hunger. And here's my story. Here's why. Because some of my friends or some of my family members had this problem, and I didn't want to see them in this situation anymore. And to really drive that great story about who you are and why you're doing this, to me, really makes all the difference between, am I going to stick around or am I just going to leave? Are you just somebody else trying to make a quick buck? Or do you have a genuine interest in me and other people and making the world a better place? And I think if you can do that, you can not only create great content, but people will be drawn to it and they'll want to know more about you.
Yeah, actually, it's really funny. You know, you can think about it. Here's the difference between an entrepreneur and a guy who's just going to work. And let's put it in terms of content. Once upon a time, I put my pants on one leg at a time and went to work. And I'm doing that every day. That's not... Whoa. Oh, wow, that was loud. Sorry. But that is not an interesting story, per se. You know, whereas the entrepreneur, once upon a time, we got up, we have a purpose. What is our purpose? Makes for a much more interesting story. There's more to add on to.
Hey, Leon, is that you?
Kareem, no, it's somebody who's dialed in.
Yeah, it's Leon.
Yeah, sorry. Hey, dude, I'm going to have to mute you. I'm getting some feedback.
Who was that came on?
My friend Leon, he was actually in Pay Me What I'm Worth, but I was just getting feedback. So
yeah, that's not
sometimes when people get on, there's a bit of feedback, unfortunately. No, you can go ahead and speak, man. I just muted you because there was a little bit of feedback on your phone. So anyways, like you were saying, Ron, I definitely can see the point you were making about like creating that powerful feeling in somebody, and then they'll keep coming back. So feel free to keep going, or anybody else who wants to join in. Also, hi, Angela. I saw you just joined.
Hello, Angela.
Hello.
So what do you think about what we're talking about? Haven't heard from her yet.
No.
She muted.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Oh, no, I actually just was really agreeing with you know, what you guys were talking about as far as like just sharing your story and being authentic. I think, you know, you have to, if you're trying to run a business or have a business, you want to be able to, you know, be your realest self. I think being authentic, because that's what's going to speak to people. Like, you know, if you genuinely care, and really find, you know, be interested in what's going on with that, you know, that person or the people that you're trying to, you know, the audience that you're really trying to reach. So I completely agree with you on that, Kareem.
Yeah, it's just if someone asked me, you know, or if someone tomorrow wrote me like that $1 billion check, I'd say thanks. And maybe I'd have, you know, maybe some fancy guitars in the background or something goofy, but I'd still keep coming on here. I'd still keep doing this. And I'd still be with all of you guys, because it's not just about creating an income. It's creating that place where entrepreneurs can get together, and I feel like I'm fulfilling a life purpose. So it's not just something I'll just stop doing. Same way with public speaking. I'm never going to stop doing it. As long as I can do it, I'm going to do it. And I think that's what really drives the difference between someone who's just going to work and someone who's an entrepreneur. And that's why you can see the notable difference in what happens. This isn't an employment thing. Nobody's chasing me around.
That's very true.
But when you're creating like content, or you're creating speech, you're creating something that you're really, really passionate about, that no one has to tell you to do, that's when real magic happens.
I also think that people need to know, like Jerry was saying, that it's a roller coaster. It's a long way to get to success as an entrepreneur. But if you've got the desire and the why behind it, and you have the determination like we've got, it's inevitable. And, you know, everyone gets discouraged from time to time. But I know that whenever I get discouraged, I just think about all the people who come on the panel and join us and believe in what we're doing. And I'm like, man, I just think I can't let those people down. You know, I have to be there. I'm the co-host. And discouragement happens to everybody, because when the chips fall down, you fall down with those chips. But it's how fast you get up again and go, you know what, I'm just going to kick some ass, and I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep going towards what I want. And that's the most important thing, I think, is getting yourself up and realizing that if you don't quit, you can succeed in anything you want to do.
You know, to actually, this weekend we get a prime example of people that are, their whole life is content. It's coming up this weekend, and that's the Oscars. Those screenwriters, yeah, they didn't hit lightning in a bottle. They got back up, and it is, you know, you're talking rewrites. You know, in many cases, 20, 30, who knows, however many they got to do, but they keep going and didn't get discouraged. But, you know, you're talking about the ultimate entrepreneur are writers. You know, they're constantly working on content, and that just it's something that when I think about the Oscar coming up, I'm like, that's something I really pay attention to.
You know, I'll add there too. I mean, the thing about the entrepreneurial life is an entrepreneur is a doer. And I think that's the core of it. Is a lot of people on paper say, oh, I want to go be an entrepreneur. I think the lifestyle is awesome. You know, I think it's cool. And the reality is, you know, I mean, some of the younger guys too that, I mean, in terms of mentorship, I have mentors that are more senior and have done, you know, several startups and brought them to either an acquisition or an IPO. And I go to them, and then I help younger people, because I'm pretty new to this as well. I'm a couple years in. But the reality is it takes grit and constant persistence to succeed, you know, and any of these stories, even my colleagues in the Silicon Valley, I have friends that, you know, when you're raising money, like when I raised my first round of money, I went to 50 investors before I got an initial investment. And just kind of getting the door slammed in your face over and over and over. And I think that's in order to kind of, you know, march onto the path of success, you need to be willing to, you know, embrace, you know, some of the failures that come along the way and learn from them and keep going. I mean, I embarrassed myself. I went to, Menlo Park and pitch for a really prestigious VC group way too early. I was still in the garage and no product in my hand, and it was way too early. And I literally left the meeting and walked over to the Caltrain and was just crying like a baby. And I called my mom actually on the phone, and and I called her, and she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's the reality, is you kind of show your ass along the way and grow up in public, and that's how you get better, and then you learn. And you can't be scared of making mistakes, because you got to just keep growing. But I think that's really, really critical, even for creating content, is try stuff, right? I mean, you try, different avenues. We have a whole, this is kind of cool, but I have a whole pipeline on, kind of what we do for building, using content, building the brand, getting consideration for our product, like a whole pipeline. Because especially some of our technology folks, they're like, why are you on the radio, or why are you on TV over here? Or why is this important? And then we use Google Analytics to kind of track all this stuff, but all that goes into testing. Business is just a hypothesis. It's like testing a hypothesis. You test something. If it works, you do more of it. If it doesn't work, you look at it. What did I do wrong? It's just, it's simple. It's scientific theory almost. Why isn't this resonating with anybody? And we found this. We pivoted probably 4 times, different products before we got to, this is kind of cool. This is our first product ever made. And it took a long time, but to hit your point, Kareem, it's not about the money. Like, now we have investors that are coming to the table, and they're just like, what's the return in 2 years? What's this? And, if you sell it, what's going to be our return on investment on this? And the truth is, I get a kick out of, I see my, product that our team developed in a box now, and it was just a dream. And it's in a box, at major retailers and going out the door, and consumers are wearing it now. And that's a kick. That is something that money can't buy, where we just created something out of the ashes, out of nothing, as a puff of smoke. We all worked together and created it, and just having that in your hand and creating something is, money can't buy that, and that's sometimes with different shareholders and stakeholders, they don't understand that. But that's part of the.
You're so good, Jerry, at bringing in those investors, because you have a passion for what you've developed, and because you have the passion, you not only know how to create the content, but you know how to overcome the objections.
Yep, exactly.
And when you can overcome an objection, it makes you that much more powerful, almost dangerous, as far as bringing people to you and to the table for investment.
Yep. And the key, it's an excellent point. And I think the key too is you can't be too smart. I always joke around, like, you want to be smart enough, but I've worked with guys, they're too smart. Their IQs are too high, and they're not used to failing at all. And fortunately for me, I'm not too smart, and I'm used to failure. If I fail, I move on. I learn from it.
That keeps you humble.
Yeah.
I know a lot of.
It's interesting you said that, because when you're going to an investor, a lot of times they tell you, when you're talking to them, you know everything about your product. You've got to tone it down to where you're almost talking to them like they're on a 4th, 5th grade level. Just make it, simplify it.
Yeah.
And so that's a great point that you made on that one. Not being too smart.
One more thing too on entrepreneurs, and even the guys that set up this show, it takes a lot of courage, and that's the thing that's really, really cool is I have a lot of friends. One guy's a director at Intel, and we were trying to recruit him to do some big data. We're trying to grow our big data program here. And a lot of people don't have the courage to do and to be an entrepreneur, and they don't have the personality. But it takes a lot of courage, and that's why I like being I like working with other entrepreneurs that have, that are insane. You got to be a little insane, and you got to have courage to go for it and not be afraid. Because there's nothing to be afraid of, because you're expressing yourself, and this is just a way of expressing what you do and what you believe in. And it's a great way of life. It's difficult at times, but it's awesome.
I imagine that when you saw that your product in a box, it was a lot like you're seeing your son graduate from Harvard. Just a pride on that would be just unbelievable.
I remember the first time someone just shared this show on Facebook. Not even like they're just like, I went on the Power Hour and it felt really good. And a lot of people would be like, well, what's going on? It's just one person sharing. But to me, that was the craziest thing. I'm like, someone likes what I'm doing. Someone likes what I'm doing.
Yeah.
When I was doing network marketing with Chris, nobody really shared my stuff. Nobody really looked at my stuff. Actually, I think people tried to run away from me. And to see just that one positive response, that somebody believes in what I'm doing. Well, I can't give up now. Or someone tells me it's a great idea. They didn't give me $1. They didn't give me anything.
Yep.
I'm ecstatic. I'm like, oh boy, dude, someone just said this about the power up, made my whole day. Like, I'll go do like 10 push-ups. I'll be like, why are you so happy? Someone shared my content. Oh my, what's the big deal? They're probably like, this guy needs Ritalin, tone it down, Kareem, come on. It's just a start. I'm telling them, you get a few people who believe in you.
Yeah.
It feels like you're gonna like lift up rocks, and then like, what else can I do? And that's the same way with public speaking. I get up there, I have a great speech, I feel great, and a lot of people are just, oh, I can't do it. Well, yes, you can. You just won't do it. Get it right. And if you'll just take the time to let yourself be embarrassed, Chris, we're doing this by ourselves. Yeah, it doesn't look very attractive when just one or two guys is doing a hangout, but you keep doing it. Maybe you get some sock puppets for the audience, and you keep being passionate, and then that one person who sees your vision, and then 10 people, and then 100, just like you, Jerry, and you create something awesome. Leon dialed back in. What's up, Leon?
Yeah, and I think that the more we do this, the better we're going to get at it. So, no matter how many times when we started, it was just me and Kareem. We didn't have an audience. And
here's a great question for Jerry, real quick. When somebody comes to you and they're thinking about they're thinking about starting their business, what's the very first thing that you're looking for when they approach you?
That's a good question. There's certain areas. My background's in biomedical engineering, so I know a lot about biomedical engineering, medical devices. But if someone comes to me and they have an idea for a software, say an app company, and I don't know much about the space, I'll have to really educate myself on what that space looks like, because no one knows everything, and so I try to always look at the simple things I do is for any business idea is, first, what is it? What's the idea? What's the product? Is there anybody doing this in any fashion at all? Analog or digital? If you have a new kind of car, it's an automobile, but is there someone doing, has horseback riding that's used for transportation? So looking at everything that's being used for that particular solution and saying, how is this solution, can this beat what's currently available? And to really, you have to try to look for things to kill your idea. You have to really, and that's kind of the goal of a startup for first 2 or 3 years is you have to look aggressively, can we kill this company? And that's kind of what I've done is, as silly as that sounds, but every step along the way, you learn, there's this competitor doing this. How is our solution better than that? Can we make it, more cost effective. Or so when I see new businesses, ideas are awesome. It's kind of like what Gary Vee always says: ideas are great. Execution's everything. He actually says ideas are shit. Execution's everything. But that's the truth, because we have so many ideas, and what separates a startup entrepreneur from everybody else is they do it. And you just have to take the action, and the action's what defines an entrepreneur. So I would say, for me, if somebody has a prototype or some type of solution, it doesn't have to be pretty, or an app. I don't care if it looks, junky, or it's just kind of drawn out, something that shows that they've taken action on the actual idea, then I will engage it and say, okay, how can we improve this? Let's look closely at what consumers would potentially buy this. How do we target those with good content? How do we get them on board for this solution? Do some primary market research. So that's kind of what I do. Is if I get something in my hand, something pitched to me that's a real prototype, because I can help make a pitch deck. In a half hour, an hour, I can make a decent pitch deck for any concept or product. I can't make a prototype. I can't make a prototype in a half hour. But if you have a prototype or a product or software, or, in this case, the Entrepreneur Power Hour, you have a concept and you say, we're getting this kind of traction. We have this many people growing and joining us every week. How can we increase that? You're taking action. You got something going. It's beyond an idea. And I think that's the big deal, is something tangible that you've taken action on, that you can say, what do you think about this?
So would you say that's really important too? Would you also say it's really important for an entrepreneur to understand their competition out there and know that our story is our story, but there's similar stories out there as well? Would you find that kind of a turnoff when somebody says, well, this is the perfect idea, nobody else has come up with it? That's an automatic deterrent.
Yeah, I would say, in fact, I always joke around when I give a presentation on this topic, and because people say there's no one in this marketplace, and I joke, and I stand there and I go around in the circle and I say, if you look around and there's no one in your marketplace, guess what? It's not a market. And that's the reality. Is as smart as I am, or I think I am, or anybody I know thinks they are, there's plenty of groups thinking and creating stuff. And there's gotta be some evidence that there is some type of a market for what you're developing. And the more you dig, you find it. You say, oh, actually there is something here, and that's good. I think a lot of people are scared to look. They're like, oh, I got this great idea. I'm afraid to go on Google. Someone's probably done it already. But the reality is, you look at even Google. It took them they went to 100 investors before they got their first investor, and they were a joke in Silicon Valley, an absolute joke, because there were companies like Alta Vista, Netscape, Ask Jeeves. There were search engine companies. There were lots of groups doing this already. You don't have to be the first. And the reality is you got to fight through that. And they knew there was a market, and they knew if their solution was novel enough, it could expand, and they could be the Google that they are today, which is incredible, right? So it's almost a lot of people don't realize that most companies are fledgling companies when they get started, and everyone laughs at you. Everyone laughed at me for a year and a half. We're starting to get traction now, and now people are like, fair weather friends. They're like, oh, I knew you'd be successful. We knew this would be. And I'm like, yeah, right. This is 10 times. Now you want in. It's
exactly.
Yeah.
It's everybody comes around after. Hey, I'm your cousin. I'm so glad you're successful. Oh, I knew. But then if you go back to the time when you were starting up in your garage, your dorm room, or your bedroom, they're like, oh, well, we leave Kareem alone. He's got this crazy idea.
Oh, yeah.
The one or two people who stay, it's crazy. But as you were talking about a prototype, and one thing that came to mind is there's a guy I really like his blog. Do you know who Tim Ferriss is?
Oh, yeah.
I looked at his website one time. I'm thinking, oh, he's the optimization guy. He probably has a beautiful website, because I do some WordPress designing. I'm not like a master at it, but I'm decent. And I looked at his website. I'm like, what? how did he become success? I'm like, oh, wait, his content's amazing.
Yeah.
And he just had that prototype of, I'm just going to put the website up. I'm just going to put the blog up. I'm just going to put the podcast, the YouTube video. Oh, well, it's not perfect. There was something in my eye. My tooth was this way. You know, I had spaghetti sauce on my shirt. My audio wasn't perfect. Whatever it is, people just have to get out there and just start making the content. Maybe you'll get a little bit of criticism. It's not the end of the world. It hasn't killed me. It hasn't killed anyone here. Yeah. But you just got to get out there and just make that video, make that blog, make that little ditty that you want, make that figure out of clay, the hearing aid.
Yep.
Whatever it is, just doesn't even have to be perfect. And then just throw it out there and say, hey, this is my vision to the world. And then maybe people will laugh. And then 2-3 years later, the investor says, man, I've been looking for this my whole life.
Yep.
And I'm sure Facebook got laughed at because MySpace existed before that.
Yeah.
And like Google, I think I read Surgery Brin one time had an idea to fax pizzas, and I'm like, what? So they have crazy ideas. They do crazy things too. I don't see any reason why anybody here is say like, you know, I want to create some content and then get scared to do so and then not do it. Just make a prototype, make a 2-minute video, write a blog post if you're scared of cameras.
I'll give a book recommendation. I don't know if this is typical, but if you guys are, this is a fantastic book, David and Goliath. And
I'll have to pick that up.
It is, I have a whole collection of books here. This is one of my favorites, Malcolm Gladwell. He wrote Outliers and some of the other really good books, but it's called David and Goliath. And it basically defines why startups can beat the giants. And it's a fantastic book, but I just want to throw that out there. I'm very ADD, so I like to throw random things in there.
No, I love it. Actually, one thing I know, and I can attest to this because, you know, working in the corporate world and being in the entrepreneurial world, one problem I have with like big corporations is to do something like, let's say to get a video broadcast, you got to get a signature from the manager, the general manager, his boss, his wife, his dog, his cat, his bird. And by the time you do that, and there were times they're like, we're waiting for access cream, you'll get it. I'm like, it's been 2 weeks. I'm like, let's just get in there and do it. Where smaller people can go, oh, I have an idea. What is it? All right, let me pull it out. Let's start coding. Let's start writing the book down. I don't need any red tape. And there's a lot of red tape when things are bigger. I don't know why. I really personally think that the Entrepreneur Power Hour is never going to be like a bureaucracy. If you have an idea, you got content, you want to say something, get it out there, no holds bar. And George just joined us, so hi, George.
And so did Chris, another guest. Hello, Chris. Welcome to the show, guys.
One thing I want to add before when we're talking about the content, something to remember is before there's content, you should always have a little bit of research going in so that it's not – so that you don't look like a complete fool, basically.
Yeah.
You know, because that's one thing. People want to read good content, and they can tell a phony from the reality.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my content, when I first got my blog up, when I first started doing public speaking, I think people would have been like, oh, who's that guy? And then laugh at me. But over time, you start to become authority because you jump through those loopholes and hit your head a few times. But I'd love to hear from Leon, Chris, or George, and we're just talking about how to create awesome content, powerful content, and then get that out to people so it can make a real impact.
I think George is going to unmute. Anyone going to unmute?
Can you guys hear us?
Yeah, welcome, George.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Go ahead.
Hi, George. Go ahead.
George.
How are you?
We're doing well, man. Thanks for being here.
I'm new to this. I just decided to pop in. Francis Richardson turned me on to it. So
Cool.
Here I am.
Good. Welcome.
Welcome, man.
Thank you.
George, you're a master. I won't say a master. I don't want to embarrass you, but I will. And say you're extraordinary when it comes to promotion of an idea and where to get your traffic. How would you expand on that as far as an entrepreneur having an idea and wanting to share their content and reach others? How would you pursue that?
Well, what I would do, I would start making videos. Depending on what your experience level is, I would start with 3 to 5 minute videos, expanding from there. As with anything, as you walk the path, you gain skills, you gain knowledge, and you gain experience. In any endeavor, that's the way it works. Nobody starts out as a master. Everybody has to go through basic and walk the path and be exposed to advanced people who rub off on you. And I look at any form of communication in the marketplace as a doorway to my list. Right? I believe in the list. I also believe in other methods of doing things depending on what you have. You have to tailor your marketing method to what it is you're trying to market. I believe in phone broadcasting. I believe in, whatever will work for you, that's what you need to do. But you need to understand that these are all just doorways that lead people to you, okay, so that you can communicate with them. And the other part of it is, I think that a lot of people, when they get a prospect, they jump on that prospect and start marketing their whatever it is they want that prospect to do, buy, or whatever, without going through the trouble of getting to understand what that person needs, why that person is attracted to them in the first place. And if people would just take a moment and restrain themselves and talk to people long enough, the person will confess to you exactly what it is they need if you gain their trust. And if you can do that, that's the ball game. So, like I said, I would start with YouTube videos. I'd set up a blog, and I'd start trying to create engagement. And then I'll start to go to social media and try to work everything synergistically. If I make a video, I'm going to put it on my blog, and I'm going to send that information out to every network that I can be associated with. If I can automate that, that's great. If I can't automate it because I don't have the budget for it, I'm just going to be there in the trenches every day doing my thing, getting as much information out there. It's about getting information out there and getting it out there. And then the other thing is keyword research. Everybody wants to overlook keyword research. If you don't do keyword research, to a degree, you're spinning your wheels, because people go out there and they search for things. And if you know what people are searching for, and if you know what your competition is about, you can perhaps knock some of that competition off the front page of Google and take its place. And keyword research seems like a big, murky, hugga-bugga place, a thing that you don't really want to have to learn, but it's really not that difficult. And once you get a handle on keyword research, it can change the whole ballgame.
Yes, sir.
I love what you said there, because people tell me, SEO, keyword research, man, you're a tech guy, Kareem. You're one of them geeky people. This is really difficult to do. I'm like, let me show you. Google AdWords. All right, give me a word. What are you working in? Okay, dogs. Here's the top, whatever it is. I'm not looking now. But then they're like, okay, entrepreneur. What do I got? And really, it's typing words, and then there's different softwares. I have one called Niche Reaper, but it's really as simple as going to something like Google AdWords, typing in a word, seeing what's going on with that, and using that as tags in maybe Facebook or Google, or seeing what's really going. And that's it. You don't have to be like some wizard ninja guru to do SEO. Although SEO, I still think it's super important. Gotta have everything else in place and have good stuff there and create relationships once that's going.
Right. It's all about the relationship in reality.
Yes, sir. I think what's really important for entrepreneurs to remember as well is you got to find your people. You got to find people that believe in what you're doing, and the way you do that is find people who are entrepreneurial themselves, and that's what we're doing with the show. We find people around the world, and I've been doing it on Twitter. That's how I met Jerry, and I'm just going on Twitter and I'm posting, I'm advertising for our show, and then I get people who follow me, and then I send them a quick message telling them what they do, and if they want to get on the show, I give them the details. But I mean, that's how you do it. You got to go on social media and meet people who are interested in being entrepreneurial, and you connect with those people and you find out what they're doing to succeed, because we all have different skills. And when we come on a mastermind like this and we combine all of our skills, then we all learn and grow together. And I think that's a really important skill for entrepreneurs to learn, is the art of brainstorming and masterminding.
I agree.
Definitely, because like you could teach us some, George, about maybe keyword research. I could help you build a certain web. Chris has, different skills in what he does and his video creation. Ron is awesome with his payment processors and different stuff he does. And Francis is great at marketing. Jerry has awesome skills as well. And when you combine them all, suddenly one person who's just great at one thing can have skills in a plethora of things, and you become almost this one powerful marketer. You can think of it, and this is a really goofy way, but like all the Transformers getting together into one big Autobot. I don't know. That's
likeness, yeah.
That's cool, yeah.
One big Autobot.
I just thought of a really funny, one of my first really experiences as an entrepreneur. See how many of you can relate to this. My dad handed me a shovel and said, go out. Actually, I wanted a bike. You know what I mean? That was my why. I wanted a bike. My dad handed me a shovel, said, all right, it's nice and snowy out. Go make some money. I think I was maybe 7 years old, 8 years old, maybe right around there. But that was my first experience as an entrepreneur, where that was my dad. Gave me the shovel and said, go do it. Again, it takes action. And you're talking back in the days before there were computers. I know, that's terrible. But it's so true. Back then it was just, you have feet, you have mouth. That's all you need. Go out there and find some people that need their driveway shoveled. There we go. We got it covered. I got my bike.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One thing I'll add on there too, in terms of, spreading the message and getting your story out there, George, you had some really, really good suggestions on that. One thing that we've done, in regards to our team is I present a lot at conferences, and to evangelize our message and to really get our story out there. We did this at the Consumer Electronics Show this year, and we drove the most traffic and sales to Wiseware when I was on stage. And, it was a big audience. There's a couple 100,000 people at CES. So there's probably like 3,000 people there in the room. But I think a lot of people overlook the physical reality and interacting with others in reality, what I mean? And because there's so much power in online, but if you do them in combination, that's when you really start getting, because they know there's a real person, that's a real company. They see you live, and then they see your presence online, and it's synergistic, and that's what really helped us. I mean,
1,000 people, 300,000 people in one room.
Oh, there was 3,000 in the room that I presented at, but there's 200,000 people.
How would they all look without clothes? How do you get in front of 3,000 people and speak?
You do it. That's the answer.
That's it.
You're a public speaker. You do it.
You just do it.
Yeah, I did it during my tech. I was a techie before Wiseware, and you just get used to It's a rush. I think a musician probably has the same kind of rush, but you know, when you're in the zone, there's nothing like it. You know, I'm actually happier and having more fun on stage than I am in everyday life. But it takes
I can
practicing.
relate to that in the sense that just doing my recent videos and using a simple screencast-o-matic type program, real elementary compared to the tech skill that you've got, but it is a rush. Every time I do a 3-minute video, I think, yeah, one more notch in your belt. You did it.
Yep.
And if somebody had told me 90 days ago or even 15 years ago when I first made aware that doing videos was a necessary skill, I called it a necessary evil. And I put it off and put it off. Finally, I did my first one, and this isn't so bad. And now I will do a video in a heartbeat to explain to my downlines or to put something on social network that people are going to listen to a video much easier than they will read a document that's 500 words long. So I've embraced it, I've gone with it, and it's gotten much more beneficial.
Yeah.
Listen, if you do anything, I'm telling you, you know, my background in this life, from the beginning, from the time I was 20, I became a police officer at the age of 20. All right, and I was a kid, to be honest with you. And you come out and you know, I used to walk. My first assignment was in East Harlem. All right, so I would be walking my post in East Harlem, and I'd be thinking to myself, "What the hell am I doing?" I would be thinking, look at all these windows. Somebody could be, you know, could have a rifle pointing at me. You know, the first time somebody told me they were going to kill me, I really took it seriously. I was like, oh my God. And, you know, everybody has to go through basic. That's the thing. Most people want to go straight to advanced without going through basic. And if you go straight to advanced, you're going to fall flat on your face. You have to go through basic. Yes, and once you go through basic, now if somebody told me they would kill me, I'll laugh in their face. Because the guy that tells you they're going to kill you is your least of your worries. It's the guy that smiles at you, and you know he has a reason to want to kill you, that you got to worry about. So, and that's in that context. I'm telling you, everything and anything that you want.
Somebody needs to mute out.
Anything and everything you want to achieve in this life, it starts out with you going through confronting that which you think you can't do, which you find difficult, which puts fear into your heart. Confront it and walk through it. And you can only die once. Seriously. I mean, yeah, you can die 1,000 times if you're a coward, but if you have a little bit of courage, you can only die once. And you walk through your fears. And that goes for marketing or anything else that you want to achieve in this life.
Yes. Yes. To quote William Wallace, all men die. Some men never really live.
Yes.
And Braveheart, that's an interesting quote. But if you're not afraid to go out there, and if someone pushed me to do public speaking in front of 200,000 people my first time, I would have been crying. But yeah, I started basic with a room of 10 people. And now if someone puts me in front of 1 million people, I'll rock that. But I hear Mr. Leon on the other side. So what's up, Leon? I finally got to hear you.
Hello. Sorry about that. No, I've just been listening. Everyone has great value here. I guess one thing that's on my mind, when I'm you're going to speak or going to talk to anybody is what I'm going to say going to give them the best value. If it's not, I need to shut my mouth, right? And wait until I have the value to give. You know, and do your homework. You know, don't just go out there blindly. Yeah, you do want to jump out there. Don't do homework like forever. You know, but take 5-10 minutes. Look up a database, or, you know, is there a good book out there that maybe a mentor recommended to you? And don't read the whole book, but go through it and pick out the nuggets and then apply it. So, I mean, that's, you know, one thing that I'm thinking from my own perspective. If you did what I used to do, you know, back in the past, is, you know, I'll take a course, and you know, it would take me so long to get through the course, and I'm not implementing. So, I mean, from my learning, that's like the totally wrong thing to do. I should have took different pieces. You know, I should have basically glanced through it, right, and took those nuggets and start applying them, instead of, you know, you're learning, you're researching the whole time, and you're never really implementing.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you, Leon. You've got to commit. Once you've got your material, you've got to implement it, or you're just going to be treading water and standing still. The rest of your entrepreneurial career, you're not going to make anything out of it. And
right.
your passion has not been implemented.
Right. And another thing I wanted to kind of I mean, again, you know, you guys already talked about it, but you guys are talking about keyword research. One thing that I learned is, you know, all these search engines really kind of give, because they have spyware and they see what people are searching online. They're always giving you, marketers, hints what people are searching online. If you go into a basic search engine and you start typing in keywords, they have like 3 or 4 long tail words that will pop up with the words that you're typing in. You know, that gives you some kind of idea of what people are looking for. If you go to your competitors' source page on their website, you can search their keywords really easy. There's a search bar. You can type in, you know, mega tag keywords and hit enter. It will highlight the keywords. So, I mean, it's not really hard. It's just, do people want to go get that knowledge? Do they want to implement the knowledge that they're receiving?
Yeah, something else to think about is never be afraid to ask somebody. You know, because one thing,
right?
People are always happy to help. Just sometimes, as an entrepreneur, you may feel overwhelmed, or go in and somebody who's been more successful, ask them. Don't be, because they're more than happy sometimes to sit there and give you a little bit of help.
Right.
And I would like to, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I would like to, comment on something that Leon said. As far as, the idea of offering value. If whatever you know, there's someone who doesn't know it. And for instance, I don't know how many of you own a dog or have owned a dog, but if you've ever owned a dog and you raised a dog from a puppy, you know that puppies are going to find their master's shoes and try and chew them. Okay?
Right.
So, and some of you may know what I'm about to say, and some of you probably don't know it. And the way you break a puppy out of chewing your shoes is you tie the shoe in their mouth. You get a stocking and you put the shoe in their mouth. And they're not doing it to be malicious. They're doing it out of love because they love you so much. They get your shoe and they're anxious And it's a comforting thing to have your shoe there, and they're anxious, so they chew it. So you put the shoe in their mouth and you tie it with a stocking so that they can't get it off. They'll fight with it and fight with it until they fall asleep. And after they fall asleep, you can take the shoe out and they'll never chew another shoe. So I only went through this dog story to demonstrate that.
Oh, that's a good point.
You know, if it's an elementary thing, but some of you probably didn't know that. So I just gave you value. So whatever you learn, there's somebody who can learn it from you. So you get it. You have a downline or a team or a group, and there are going to be some people that are more advanced than you and on your level who know the things that you're teaching. But I guarantee you there will be those who don't. So whatever you learn, you immediately go out and teach it to others. And what that does is it solidifies it in your mind, and you've given out value. And someone is going to respect you for giving out the value. That's how you get people who are on your level and advanced in front of you. And someone who didn't know the information is going to respect you because you gave them information they didn't have.
That's amazing, George. Wow. You just summed it up perfectly, bud. Because, you know, that's why we have this dream of uniting the world's entrepreneurs. And we're gonna get some big names on this show. We're going to try and get everybody that we can that's very known, even our entrepreneurs that are not known. We're going to get them on here because all this value needs to go to new entrepreneurs. It needs to go to everyone on every level in their entrepreneurial career. That's our goal, is to bring this to as many people as possible. And I'm really proud of this, that I came up with this idea. And I said to Kareem one day, I said, dude, we should do a YouTube show. And he goes, well, what do you have in mind? I said, let's call it the Entrepreneur Power Hour. He was like, that's brilliant. I said, I know, man. Let's run with it. Let's just do it. Doesn't matter what happens. Let's do it. And we brainstorm a topic. Like 2 days after the show, we come up with a new topic. And I go, what do you think of this? And we're also trying to get our audience involved and ask the panelists as well as our viewers, what do you guys want to see us talk about? You know, so we've got a format now where we're doing something different each week. Like, it's not always going to be personal development. We're going to have some trainings. We're going to have some skills training. We're going to have some video training. You know, whatever people want to see us do, we're going to have entrepreneurs that can train for that thing, or that can give people that skill. So many elements to what we're doing, and we couldn't do it without you guys. So thanks for being here once again.
Thank you. Is there a list of everyone that's online so we could all follow each other on Twitter and Instagram and start boosting, amplifying?
Yes, sir. I'm sure if we go into the chat here, if you click the chat, everyone can give their information there. I have you, Jerry, on Facebook and Twitter, but I can give your information to everyone here tonight if you want, or we can do it right now.
Yeah, let's unite after the show.
Yeah, and we're going to be starting the broadcast right away because it is getting to over the hour, and we know that some people's attention spans can't stretch past an hour. I don't mean our panelists, but viewers, you know. we live in an ADHD day and age, man, where it's just like, you know, so we got to make sure that we're keeping schedule here. But yeah, everybody put your names in the chat, your social media, and let's connect there for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I just add a little bit of something to it?
Of course, George. Yeah, no, we're not in a hurry to quit. I'm just saying, you know, I just want to make sure people know that while we're doing this, how that, you know, we try to keep it to an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, buddy. Go ahead.
For those of you that are doing video, making videos, there's a little Chrome extension called vidIQ. vidIQ. You can look it up. It's free. They do have an upgraded, and the upgraded service is worth it. But vidIQ basically tracks your videos and gives you stats on your videos. You can see how your keywords are doing. You can look at competitors' keywords. You can search up a competitor who's putting out the same type of content that you're putting out, and get a look at their keywords.
Nice.
And, it's a nice little tool.
Okay.
Cool.
I won't be able to use the chat box since I just call in.
Okay, well, Kareem can hook us up.
Yeah, I can give them your info because I have you on Skype and everything. Also,
Right.
Marsha has your stuff too. That's actually how I met you. So.
Right.
But definitely, let's connect. And the whole point of this really is that people can meet people with different skills and connect. And the connections are so powerful. And what you can learn from someone even not on the show is going to be astronomical, because suddenly you're going to have skills from tons of people you never even knew and things you never even understood. And now everybody's typing.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, we're just trying to
Definitely.
get our link to everybody. Well, guys, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. And we're going to be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel for the Entrepreneur Power Hour. You guys did a great job. We love every one of you. Thank you for bringing your ideas, your expertise, and your skills to the table. And this is Chris Peters and Kareem Mays, and we will see you next time for the Entrepreneur Power Hour.
Yeah, I want to just thank everybody. It was nice to meet you, Jerry. It was nice to meet you, George. I learned a lot from you, and I'm actually definitely more inspired to look at different things I can do to help you guys, and different things that we can all learn from each other. That's what that's all about. So yeah, I just want to thank Jerry, Ron, Chris, Mr. Leon on the phone there, and Francis, Angela, and whoever else may have popped in. Chris, even though he was here, and Bill. Always got to give kudos to Bill for showing up here,
For sure.
doing his best job. I'm going to show you a tool here real quick, actually, before I knock this out. If that's cool with you guys.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Give me 1 second to get it up. Because they started talking about keyword research. I'm like, So recently I started playing around in JVZoo. Actually, I'm not happy to say this. I spent more money in JVZoo than I wanted to. Do you guys know what that is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Easy to spend money, too.
Well, JVZoo is a platform. It's like ClickBank. It has different tools, but unlike ClickBank, it's more geared. It's not so much like here's a dating product, here's a good. It has a lot of very entrepreneurial products. How can I say that? And stuff like ways to help your blog out, things to create your website better. And one thing I was on there and I found was called Niche Reaper. And I know that sounds like a crazy name, but really what it does is it's like Google AdWords, but I don't have to pay anything. Got it for like $30, so I'm happy with it. And really what I do is I type in and I see what's the highest thing trending on Google. Entrepreneurship is, if you can see the AdSense. It shows the AdSense value, and I saw how they do the calculation. It's pretty cool. I can see the highest thing on Amazon, which is, let me see here. It is women entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs looking for investors is on there. Entrepreneur ideas is the highest in Yahoo. So it's definitely a nice little tool that I can use. And you can look up anything here. You can look up clothes, Premier Clothes, Wise, I could even type in Wise Wear, see what pops up. I didn't get anything. I could type in keyword research. So if anybody needs any help with keywords, feel free to get a hold of me, because it's something I started just learning and getting excited about. Funny enough, keyword research is the highest one on Yahoo, and the highest one on Google is keyword research tool. So it's pretty cool. I'm going to stop sharing. So, all right, guys.
I like it.
I hope that gave everybody a whole bunch of value. I hope you had fun, and we will see you next week.
Cheers.
Thank you, everybody.
Feel free to tweet
Thank
me
you.
messages to spread the message too. I'm happy to retweet and get it out there, because that's something that I do too. I got some colleagues of mine that have just ridiculous followings, and I'll just direct message them things and to retweet and get it out there, and it spreads the number of impressions and drives a lot more traffic.
Let's spread it like wildfire, guys. See you next week.